guys, welcome to this video. You're about to watch an interview my team and I at the closing table with another pre-foreclosure seller that we just helped avoid an auction, and we closed this transaction like 2 days ago. And the reason we did an interview with this seller is because, one, when we got in touch with him, he was under contract with another investor, and we just kept persisting. We kept following up, checking on him to make sure everything is all right. Because as you guys know, whether you're a homeowner or an investor, if you are in pre-foreclosure, time is of the essence because the bank is trying to foreclose on the house and take it over. Especially if you're a homeowner that is owner occupied. This seller right here is a property that he inherited from his dad. Not only he inherited a property that needs a lot of work, but he also inherited a property that the bank is about to foreclose on because his dad is behind on bills, which happens, right? Life happens. So one, as an investor, you're going to learn through this interview with the seller at the closing table with my team that you never want to give up on these sellers. You want to follow up. Typically, the first time you talk to them, they have their guards up. They don't want to tell you everything, and that's, for good reasons, right? They don't know you from Adam's cats. So you're going to have to prove to them that, number one, you know what you're doing. Number two, that you care, that you truly want to help them, even if you probably not going to end up getting a deal. You still want to help them, guide them through, the right direction. That's number one. Number two, even if they say, like this seller, he says, the first time we talked to him, he says, hey, I am under contract with another investor. That doesn't mean, being under contract doesn't mean the deal is done. In real estate, until the deal closes and the check hit the seller's account, the deal is not done. Anything can happen in between, and that's exactly what happened with the seller. We ended up following up to check in. Hey, how are things going? Hey, is the investor closing? Are you guys close to closing, right? We're still here as a backup offer. We're still here as your plan B. And last minute, he was like, hey, it's been 30 days. I've given these guys enough chance to close. They're still kicking around. They're still dragging their feet. They're not closing. I'm about to lose my home at the auction. So since you guys have been so consistently following up with me and answering all my questions and helping and giving me clarity, I am willing to work with you guys. And that's it. We ended up making the deal happen. So number one, if you're a homeowner going through foreclosure, right, you're facing foreclosure, we can stop this up to the last minute, literally up to the last minute, up to the day of. It doesn't matter whether the property need work, doesn't need work, it has equity, doesn't have equity, regardless. We have all the resources necessary to talk to the lenders, talk to whoever is involved to help you find a solution. That's number one. Number two, if you're a real estate investor, listen, help in solving problems when you market into pre-foreclosure sellers is in the follow-up. It's not because these homeowners are behind on their payments that they're gonna hand you over their keys. That's number one. Or number two, they're gonna trust you right out the gate, right? They don't know who you are. And then you have a lot of investors that go around and put sellers under contract, and they don't perform. They don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're a little bit on the newer side. They don't reach out to somebody with a little bit more experience and ask for help, and they put these families in danger by putting them under contract with the wrong numbers, and then they try to market the contract on Facebook, Craigslist, all this thing, all this different platforms, and they cannot sell it, and now the seller end up losing their homes. We've seen that literally happen. And so what we did on this video here is we interviewed the seller to ask him, number one, the experience working with us, and then number two, the experience working with the other investor, and then all the calls he's been getting along the way and the process and all these things. Is a fun one to watch. If you're a real estate investor, you definitely want to listen to it all the way to the end. If you're a homeowner going through foreclosure, you absolutely want to listen to it also all the way to the end so that you know how we can help you as well. And give it a thumbs up if you get any value out of the video. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments below, and my team will put it on my plate, and I'll make a video just to answer your question, guys. Enjoy the video.
So,
Just initial. Thank you.
I spoke to him, he assured me, then the next day, he's coming up with another,
Okay.
some other mess. Listen, that's.
Yeah, it's not working out.
I can't do it.
But that's crazy because you gave him subject to. No. But he
45 days.
yeah, but you agreed to sell it to him subject to.
Right. All you had to do is bring the money all you had to do is catch the payment out.
Right.
Get it out of foreclosure.
Right.
Right. 'Cause
Right.
I already signed the deed.
Exactly.
I had already signed the deed.
That is crazy.
So
That would have been it's funny because we've thought about approaching you with the subject too, because we actually love doing it, but we're like, you know what, let's just close it because it needs a lot of work, so it's gonna get a lot of funding too. But that's crazy. So that tells me, so one, which is great because you were like, sometimes we work with sellers and we get them first and we go through the whole, because for us when we're talking to somebody who's behind on the mortgage, the first thing we try to do is first call the bank, because we know she's the bank whisperer. That's what we call her. She can call any lender, negotiate anything, you know, find a way to. So the first is always, let's pause the auction or postpone it, right? Boom.
In March.
March, boom.
Right, that's why they gave me until May 7th.
Right.
That's why, there was breathing room at that point. Right. But then once we got into April,
That's crazy.
I'm like, no.
And that's another thing I was gonna get into when I talk to wholesalers or any investor. The problem is, like you said, if he was upfront right from the get-go, hey, just so you know, if I put you on the contract, I'm gonna have to go get funding, but you know, the funding that I'm dealing with, you know, I'm gonna have to wait, blah, 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 just so you know, just in case I come back to you and say I need some more delay, I've warned you up front and I was very upfront with it. Then you would be more at ease. Okay, you told me. But when you just come up with new stuff every single time, but I do commend you for, because for you, you wanted to keep your promise. Like, hey, I'm gonna sell it to you. I told you I'm gonna give it to you X amount of days, but man, subject to would have been sweet. I don't know how he couldn't secure. He was probably, is he on the newer side? Because a private lender would, like, you guys owe how much on this property?
Tax, fees and everything came in like 40, 50,
$50,000. That's so he should. So the subject to that he was buying. I mean, the way he was structuring it with you, was it to not only pay off the arrears but pay you all your equity up front, also? No. Got it. So you were just gonna get some and then get paid over time, right? Okay. So he was gonna keep it.
the same that you're gonna do.
Yeah, he was gonna keep this long term, right?
For
Or just flip it.
months, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, flip it. Okay. He was gonna do a subtail. Okay, that's great. So fantastic. So that's one. And then what made you wanna listen to this guy after your aunt called you and say somebody else called? That's it, or just the
The main thing was the delay.
Absolutely.
You already got me waiting for a month.
Right.
Now it's gonna be another 2 weeks.
Right.
I can't go on. I can't trust that.
Right.
At that point,
The trust was lost. Okay. What was your experience dealing with
I think
Mr. Andrew here?
I think what I did it for Miss Mosley when I spoke with Miss Mosley and I expressed some interest inside the property was the fact that I went there. Now I mean, I drove all the way from Conyers just to express some interest inside the property and actually take some video because I told her because she wasn't aware of what was going on really. So I just went there, but she just went there, did some video. Then I know that, listen, I'm gonna look to see what's going on the oil because I didn't know that you was included either until she told me that there was somebody else.
Well, the thing that tripped the wire was when you went and said that the house was open.
Yeah.
And you said you went in the house. The door was broke. That's just the basement.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
I didn't even went in.
Huh?
I didn't even went in because I didn't know what was on the inside if somebody was squatting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
I'm just
Yeah,
at the back and I see the door, the house open.
Right.
So I'm just like, we take some videos and we tell her like, hey, I have some interest. So she said she'd get in contact with Sultan and Miss Dixon. And when Sultan called me, I'm just like, hey, you must straightforward. I'm like, what's your offer price? I don't know. And they say, hey, what's your offer price? And don't even give me an offer. I say, hey, I can offer you 10,000 more than what the other person. Because I don't even know what other person was. And like, I'm actually under contract right now. So let me see what this guy do. Because he probably could perform. Because I talked to Miss Mosley quite, a lot before we get in contact with you.
Oh, got it. So her name is linked to the property as well when you look it up online.
Not really linked.
She's my cousin, but she's a real estate agent.
Gotcha.
So my aunt probably had her to talk to.
Oh, got it.
Okay. You know, I research everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that's all me even come in contact with her because I go everywhere until I find somebody.
Yeah.
Just can't do that.
And the reason he does that also is most sellers that are dealing with the bank and are behind on their payments, most of them, the first thing they do is to disconnect their numbers. So you have to go find the family members to try to get in touch with them. And then we often run into situation also where the actual seller passed away. So unless you talk to the family, and the family don't even know what probate means, so they haven't started the process, they don't know how to handle the pre-foreclosure. So that's the reason why we go deep, find the family, and then see who's the decision maker, and then try to get in touch with that person.
You get cussed out sometime now.
Always.
Sometimes.
We're used to that. That's
more cussed out because sometimes people want to keep it private.
Right.
So by you reaching out to other family members and saying, hey, Miss Dixon probably don't even want Sultan to know that you're going through a situation, and then now she start, oh, you call my family. This one lady said to me, I got 6 family members with the same exact name and number, which is you. Why are you doing this?
Wait, why are you calling my family?
Why you calling so many people? I'm like, yeah, me apologize, but the record showed that the owner died. I didn't even know that you were still alive. I'm just trying to explain it. Even though she didn't want to hear it. By the way, I called her the next day again and again, up until the situation is resolved. So for me, the arguing and the arguing and the bicker window phase me really. I'm gonna still call you and make sure someone follow up with you up until then.
Yeah, because every property we get, right, like in terms of buying, is always because the seller want to sell. You can never convince somebody to sell.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, most sellers is also because it's so personal. They have a wall, which is normal. You don't know who's calling you. I don't know you from Adam's Cats. I don't know what your intentions are. The word investor have connotations of scams and taking advantage of people. So we do understand, but because we're in the problem solving business, you cannot let that phase you. You have to persist, because most of them also, like, they bury their head in the sand. And so up to the last minute, if you follow up with them, then they go, yeah, I really do need help. It was not personal that I'm cussing you. It's just that I don't know you, right? But now, since you insisted enough, I can tell that, okay. So then if they want to keep it, great. We just advise you, this is the way you can keep it. You can do this, do that. And if you're looking to sell, then we buy it. Ultimately, it's just, it is what it is, because we're a business also at the end of the day, right? So, but that's fantastic. So that tells me, with a homeowner, what questions would you advise a homeowner to ask an investor to see if they're legit, even when they get a call, they're behind on they're on pre-foreclosure, the house need work, people are calling them. Like, what questions would you advise them to ask to make sure that that person is actually legit and they should go with? Like a regular homeowner, the average that don't know nothing about real estate.
That's a hard question.
Hard question, right? So let me tell you what I advise every homeowner. You tell us if that makes sense. For me, I always tell them first, which you did actually, the earnest money, very important. If the person is a wholesaler, most wholesalers, nothing wrong with it, by the way. We started that way. For me, what's wrong is when you lie. If I'm a wholesaler, but I have legit buyers, and my buyer gave me the go, hey, if you get it at this, I'll buy it, then boom, right? But if I come to you and I only learned on YouTube, I don't know my numbers, and I didn't call somebody with more experience and ask them, hey, where should I actually be on this property? The house needs work. The house, after it's fixed up, is $300,000, and you go lock it up at $290,000. But the house need $80K worth of work. Yes, we see that all the time. My email is full of it, right? But that's because they don't know their numbers. And so that person, what the risk is, now you put in a family in danger, because for that family is real life. They're actually going to lose a home just for you to try to make $10,000, which is nothing wrong with it. So it's the way you do it. Can you do it at least ethically? Now, most wholesalers also, because when they're starting, the goal is, let me build up my capital and then start buying properties and become an investor. It's like, okay, great. $5,000, if you ask them that as earnest money, that's the first thing I tell homeowners, they don't have it. So meaning not refundable, they don't have it, right? If they don't have it, they will not sign on that. And if they don't know how to go get it. Now, the wholesalers that are smart will find anyone, a local legit investor, and go, hey, like even their buyer, hey, the seller is asking me $5,000, are you going to cover it, right? So that's the first question I tell them. The second question is, you need to ask them what title company they use. And if you ask what title company they use, most homeowners actually don't know. The title company, like if you call this office here, they're a neutral party. They're not working for you, they're not working for us. They're just working for them. So if you call them and ask them, hey, has Mamadou ever closed a deal with you? Is he legit? Their company, I'm saying, you give a company name, they have to tell you. They cannot lie. So I tell homeowners, make sure to tell you the name, write down the name of the title company and call in. Call in, talk to the closing attorney or the escrow officer and say, hey, this X company called me. Have you guys ever closed deals with them? If they say I don't know who that is, then you already if they lie to you about that, what else did they lie to you about, right? And the other thing I tell them is, well, especially the older people, because they get taken advantage of a lot. Ask them their proof of funds as well. So if I'm buying your house like this one, what is the offer we made here?
110.
110. If I'm gonna buy a house at 110, 120, but I cannot show you that I have 120 in my bank account or my buyer's bank account, then I'm just kicking around, right? And then after that is the inspection period. So if I'm calling you on a house that needs work as an investor, I'm buying it as is. That's what I'm telling you. I'm gonna buy cash, I'm gonna close fast, and I'm buying it as is. So if I'm buying it as is, and I'm telling you, hey, I need 20 days inspection, I thought you said you're gonna buy it as is, right? Which is, by the way, you did that. If once you walk it, then I sign, there is no more, which is fantastic. So if he's a wholesaler that don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to navigate that. Because really all you need is probably maybe like 3-day inspection.
3 to 5 days.
Your buyers walk in, walk out, they know they're buying it as is, so they don't need to ask the seller to fix anything. They don't even have to flush the toilet, right? So those are the things that we tell them, hey, if you ask these questions and the person don't call you back, they're not legit.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's why we advise homeowners so that they know they're working with either a legit wholesaler that knows what they're doing and is very upfront, or an investor that actually buys their own homes.
So I have a quick question I wanted to ask you. So you had a problem with in the initial stage, me had a conversation, and you wanted to know if we're wholesaling the property. Why was that a concern of yours?
Yeah.
Say that again?
You wanted to know if we were going to wholesale the property, but
Because what he just said, I didn't want you to be tying me up for another 20, 30 days. and
Got it.
The sales made it 7.
Yeah.
So like I said, that when I called you, I was already at my wits end.
Right.
I was
Got
like,
it.
This is.
He was already-
I've got to get this done.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did read the contract. It does say at the end of the contract that you're a wholesaler. I know what a wholesaler is. I know
Right.
how that process works. So I was very cautious moving forward. I said,
Right.
you know, I need to know y'all gonna close, and that's why I put a deadline
Yeah.
of April 24th, because that still only leaves me, you know, roughly 10 days from that date.
100%.
Yeah.
So as I said before, for us, we do everything. We wholesale, we buy and hold, and we also flip. We just sold a house like when Mama do.
3 days ago?
Yeah, Friday.
3 days ago. So you got time, Sultan, because we do marketing on a large scale. At times we have 5 properties. Now, sometimes we might not flip all 5. Sometimes we might, hey, we have investor friend. We have a lot of relationship with a lot of cash buyers, and sometimes them even send their deals over to us. So sometimes we might flip some of those. Sometimes we might hand them over to our investor relationship, and vice versa. So the wholesaling at the end of the contract just, hey, we could do, because we're going to purchase it anyway. You know what I mean? If we're going to put something on the contract, we're going to perform. Even if it take us to close on it and then wholesale it at a later date, we're going to close on it once our name go on it, that was stamped it. So that is the next thing I want people to know. Like for me personally, if I'm going to say I'm going to perform on it, I'm going to take you out the situation and then at a later date decide whether I'm going to flip it, wholesale it, buy it, keep it, and stuff of that nature. So that just answered the question, because I know that it was a little bit hesitant. Like, hey, you guys going to wholesale this?
But
I'm
I think for him, it's not more about you wholesaling. It's about
Yeah.
making sure you're not wasting my
100%.
time. So you see, this is why I tell the seller to ask the questions, because if he's a legit wholesaler, they can actually close within the time frame as long as title is clear. But if it's somebody that don't know what they're doing and they're just winging it, then you can tell from that, like, okay, I cannot. Then they'll walk away. So actually, I don't think he has a problem with the wholesaler. I have a problem with you wasting my time. You know what I mean? It's like meeting a new girl that got cheated her whole life on, and now you're gonna have to deal with. You know what I mean? So yeah. Thank you, Sultan. That's really it. That's all the questions that I had. Really, this is gonna help another homeowner. And hey, if you're a homeowner watching this is the checklist. Just ask those questions. Make sure you call the title company. Make sure you actually verify that these people are either closing deals, or just ask them, hey, be upfront with me. If you're gonna wholesale it, let me know. And do you already have your buyer, lined up? And Sultan already know what a wholesaler is, but most homeowners don't. You can literally go online and Google the term and understand what that means. But it's basically just putting you on the contract, and then they find an end buyer and sell that contract and make a small fee in between. But they are, they are solving problems, but they just got to do it ethically. The problem is most people don't care. And especially when it comes to pre-foreclosures, it hits home because I know one of my friends that went through this, and it's like you don't want to play with people's lives. So if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't try to wing it. Should at least work with somebody that knows what they're doing. So that's how we approach it. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Boom, boom, boom.
Which is not far from now. So,